The girl had just sat on the bed after taking a shower when she heard a knock on the door. She thought it was her boyfriend returning, hurried to open the door, only to find a stranger. She quickly tried to close the door desperately, but the man forcefully pushed it open. She closed the door, put down the bottle, and asked where Ling Jia had gone. The girl was so scared she just shook her head, not daring to speak. The man thought she was new, casually threw down some bills, took off his coat, and pulled the girl into his arms. The boyfriend downstairs noticed something was wrong upstairs, rushed into the room, and directly pulled the man off the bed. As he was fighting, the man shouted for the girl to run. The frightened girl ran out. The boyfriend flipped the table, knocking the man unconscious, and then hurriedly chased after the girl. The man woke up from unconsciousness looking bewildered. The boyfriend, named Deshawn, was originally the girl's downstairs neighbor who sold buns. The girl, named Tongan, was slightly mentally challenged and had always lived with her grandmother. Deshawn had always had a crush on Tongan and would save chicken buns for her every day. That day, her grandmother suddenly passed away. Considering Tongan had no one to care for her, the police sent her to an orphanage. Unexpectedly, the people there treated her like she was mentally ill, and if she disobeyed, they would inject her with sedatives. At night, Deshawn secretly took Tongan out. The two went to an amusement park to play until late. Deshawn planned to take Tongan home, but found the door was already locked. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't open it. Neighbor Ling Jia saw how pitiful they were and invited them inside. Ling Jia had to stay at a client's house that night, so she let Deshawn and Tongan stay there. Deshawn, afraid Tongan would be hungry, went back downstairs to the bun shop to steam buns for her. At this time, a man with a tattoo on his hand came to buy alcohol, then walked upstairs, leading to the scene at the beginning. Deshawn and Tongan went to the police station to report the incident. Deshawn, afraid of further upsetting Tongan, requested to give his statement outside. Officer Lao Gui, upon hearing a girl was involved, hurried to Tongan, first coaxing him to take off his coat, then asking him to explain what happened, constantly inquiring about the details. While they were questioning, the beaten man appeared outside the window. Unexpectedly, he was the police captain here, named Sang Biao. Sang Biao thought Tongan was from the spirit world, and seeing how attractive he was, even paid an extra 20 yuan. Unexpectedly, not only did the task fail, but I also got beaten up. Look, Tong Yan is delivering again, and Sang Biao wants to finish what he started earlier. Old Ghost, with a smug look, went to help. Sang Biao asked others to help keep an eye on Dashan. Meanwhile, while stalling for time, Dashan saw the photo on the table and realized that Sang Biao is a cop here. Dashan sensed something was wrong and rushed towards the interrogation room. Two colleagues desperately tried to stop him. When Dashan kicked the door open, he saw Sang Biao venting his anger, beating Dashan, and then hanging him by one hand in the room. After the captain was done, Old Ghost discovered something else. Meanwhile, a colleague was watching Dashan hanging in the room, able to clearly see everything happening. The faxed information showed that Tong Yan is not the female war police. Everyone was stunned for a moment. Shang Biao, however, looked indifferent. This woman's nonsense, no one would believe her. Then, Sang Biao and his accomplices framed Dashan for stealing from the well at night. Sang Biao also threatened Tong Yan, saying if she dared to speak out, she wouldn't see the light of day again. Dashan was then sentenced to 6 months. This man is truly ruthless. Dashan bit his finger and rubbed off the skin on the wooden board. After repeated actions, he lost the fingerprints on all 10 fingers. 6 months later, Dashan was released from prison. Tong Yan, heavily pregnant, came to pick him up, not knowing which cop's child she was carrying. Seeing Tong Yan, Dashan was stunned, tears rolling down his face. Tong Yan took the initiative to hold his hand. The two walked home together. On the table, Tong Yan had already prepared the meal. Seeing Tong Yan's innocent smile, Dashan decided he must take revenge on those bastards. Just as his pregnant wife returned home, he suddenly froze. Ding Zai from the Bao family kept calling for his wife, but no one responded. At this moment, Dashan was already quietly standing behind him. Then, Dashan suddenly strangled Ding Zai's neck. After a struggle, Ding Zai was no longer moving. A few days later, the police received a report from a citizen. A foul smell kept emanating from the box. The police retrieved a bag from the box, and the stench inside was even more pungent, causing several people to cough uncontrollably. When they opened the bag, they were all shocked. Inside was a fully formed fetus. And there was also the ID of his colleague Ding Zai. The police hurried to Ding Zai's house, where they found his wife, who had been dead for several days, lying on the floor. Her stomach had been cut open, and the fetus was missing. The police couldn't find any trace of Ding Zai. Meanwhile, unaware of the situation, Old Ghost had just brought his pregnant wife from their hometown. As he was about to pour her some water, she suddenly froze and stopped moving. Old Ghost realized something was wrong and quickly hid. Then, his colleague received a call from Old Ghost, but there was no sound on the line. The scene shifts back to Old Ghost's room, where Deshawn had already cut open Old Ghost's wife's belly. With his last breath, Old Ghost dialed his colleague's number, but Deshawn casually answered the call. By the time the colleagues arrived at the scene, Old Ghost's wife had died from excessive blood loss, and Old Ghost had been drowned in the room. Realizing the severity of the situation, the police hurriedly set up roadblocks to search for Deshawn. When they saw someone familiar approaching for a search, Deshawn quickly got out of the car and ran. The police chased after him, and Deshawn was soon subdued at gunpoint. He didn't try to escape but surrendered willingly. Although he was caught, they had no evidence against him. They first beat Deshawn, then tied his hands and feet, and used a screwdriver to pierce his eardrum. Seeing that Deshawn still wouldn't confess, they scattered thumbtacks on the table and slammed him onto them. Even with a gun pointed at his head, he didn't say a word. Meanwhile, Tongan saw the news on TV about the 2 pregnant women being murdered and Deshawn's arrest. The police suspected Deshawn was mentally ill and that he might be charged with murder. As evidence was being further collected, Tongan first burned the photos of the 2 of them together, then casually picked up a fruit knife. This pregnant woman was definitely ruthless. She first picked up a fruit knife, dialed the emergency number, and without saying a word, threw the phone to the ground. Then, she walked into the bathroom with the knife and directly removed the fetus from her belly. Afterwards, she threw the dagger into the sewer. While the police were using harsh methods to extract a confession, a superior came in, and they stopped the violence. The police insisted it was his doing, but the superior said another pregnant woman had just been murdered outside, so it couldn't have been him, right? The superior told them to go home, as he wanted to interrogate the minister alone. The leader asked Deshawn why he wanted to run away. Deshawn no longer trusts the police. "This isn't the first time you've wronged me. I agreed not to get a medical examination, not to pursue the matter, and I'm willing to sign the document. You can write the statement however you want." The leader wanted to know why he didn't sue the police. Deshawn retorted, "Can I win?" The police thought of going to the hospital to check the situation, but Deshawn got there first and put Tongan in the ambulance. The police hurried to the garage to check. At this moment, Deshawn drove up, and after the 2 locked eyes, Deshawn hit the gas and sped away. The police followed in their car, reporting Deshawn's location and instructing colleagues to intercept him halfway, with orders not to leave any witnesses. On the road, the colleague fired several shots at Deshawn. Deshawn's car suddenly stopped, and when the colleague approached to check, Deshawn suddenly appeared behind him. After a scuffle, the colleague was doused with gasoline. Deshawn picked up a gun from the ground, crying, and shot the colleague in the stomach. Then, the colleague's body burst into flames. At this moment, the police drove up in pursuit. Deshawn hurriedly ran to the roadside bushes. The car sped directly towards Deshawn. Fortunately, it didn't hit him. He got up and ran quickly, with the police chasing him from behind. Deshawn was eventually caught. The police beat him severely until they were too tired to continue. Lying on the ground, Deshawn found a broken manhole cover and suddenly turned to hit the officer on the head with it. The officer fell to the ground, dead. At dawn, Sangbiao walked around the ambulance but didn't see Deshawn. He fired 2 shots at Tongan. Hearing the gunshots, Deshawn stood up with his gun. Sangbiao calmly walked over and fired several shots at Deshawn. Deshawn fell to the ground. When Sangbiao approached to finish him off, his gun unexpectedly jammed. Our hatred ends here. If you survive, come back and find me. In the blink of an eye, 5 years passed. Sangbiao became the head of a monastery. Deshawn saw him on TV. That night, he took out his gun and went to the monastery. There, Sangbiao was teaching the children to sing. When he turned around, he saw Deshawn. Sangbiao poured Deshawn a cup of coffee and said. Deshawn looked at Sangbiao's tattoo, stepped forward, and shot him once, then shot him again in the thigh and stomach. At this moment, the children all ran over, and Deshawn turned around and shot Sangbiao dead. As Deshawn was about to leave, a child suddenly jumped up and rode on his back, repeatedly stabbing his neck with a pencil. Then, all the children swarmed over and restrained Deshawn. After that, the little boy pulled the trigger, firing several shots. Deshawn then fell into a pool of blood. The movie, Revenge of the Avengers, ends here. 2 enemies stand in the wilderness, attracting a large crowd of onlookers. They hope the killing ends too brutally. So, the crowd hopes they embrace, but the result is too puzzling. In the end, the crowd becomes numb to the hatred. Alright, if you want to see more great movie reviews, please follow me. Bye bye.
Yeah.